All right, guys. So this is the fourth episode of the Hoffle podcast. We are back, and a lot has happened since the last time that we were on screen. We've had races at Pocono, Atlanta, Chicago, three very different race courses. A lot of different winners, a lot of different stories, a lot of different environments for these drivers to fight in. Very varying types of tracks. So I think there's a lot to talk about here. A lot of stories, a lot of ups and downs for a lot of drivers. Some that were on the scene before that may not be there, and vice versa. So, great example of this is Pocono, the very first race since the last time we were on screen. And I think for me, the narrative, getting right into it, is that there's a lot of drivers that they squash losing streaks, drivers that rose to prominence that really had been doubted or weren't really on the scene as much as people probably thought they should. And Chase Briscoe is a huge example of this, in my opinion, because I mean he got into JGR equipment, some of the best on the grid, for how good he was at Stewart-Haas, in equipment that was dying, that was not really supported by the owner, the manufacturer, and the team wasn't really firing on all cylinders. And he still pulled off what he did. And I think this past year so far, Briscoe just hadn't really lived up to the hype. He had really great qualifying speed out of the gate, but he didn't really finish races. I mean, the eye test, it didn't really feel right. It felt like Martin Truex Jr. was still driving that car, but he won. So I'm wondering what y'all thought about Chase Briscoe's performance and him actually finally getting a race in the 19 car.
Yeah, so I was personally glad to see that. And if you go back to last episode, not to toot my own horn, I didn't have him winning, but I did say to look out for him at Pocono. So if anyone watching or listening wants to go back to that, prove it. But I like that he was able to get his win. I think with any driver team combination, it takes a minute to get used to how people do things. Right in the middle of the season is a great time to get hot and start. He started with poles, and then eventually got his win at Pocono. I think, at this point in the season, it's a great time to start pulling results, especially for a driver like him who's I believe he's been in the playoffs before, to start showing some potential and some good equipment. So I'm glad to see that he got some good result there.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree. I think I don't know. Well, actually, no. I'd say I anticipated Briscoe to struggle. Maybe not as much as he did, but I definitely anticipated a struggle and adjustment, especially with a completely new team and a completely different crew chief. And based on what I've seen with how James Small was difficult to work with Martin Truex Jr., I anticipated something similar with Briscoe. However, that was that win at Pocono certainly was impressive given how much short he was on fuel. To be able to come back the way he did. Well, not come back. I guess he was always in the lead. I do think this exposes some of the problems with the car yet again, though. I mean, the fact that there was a car lifting and coasting, and the guy in second couldn't get by him, I think shows us some. Again, I mean, these are already these weaknesses have already been exposed, but they're just continue to get exemplified more and more. And I could recall a friend of mine touching on the subject about how, although it was really neat to see on the Prime graphics how you're able to see how much fuel they burned and stuff like that. A big part of racing back in the day was being able to gamble on like if you had enough or not, and just more so like there was like a sense of suspense to it, on both ends. And I know some people believe that may be lost with the SMT data, being able to see where they're lifting exactly and how much they're saving fuel approximately. It kind of takes away the fun and the gamble a little bit,
Yeah, I can see that. Although during the race, there seemed to be kind of a miscommunication with the guesses of how much gas Chase Briscoe actually had, because as I was watching it, they kept highlighting the things that Denny Hamlin's crew chief was saying to him, and he seemed to think that there was no way he was going to save enough gas to make it to the end, and yet he did. So I think, while there's still a problem with passes not being able to be made, even though the guy in front is coasting, running on fumes, trying to save as much gas as he can. I think that there's still that question mark there because it's all math. The math's not going to be exact. Conditions make fuel burn different, but even then, you've still got a little bit. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think there's still a problem with the car, but I don't think it's quite as bad as people think it is for the most part.
That is fair.
Yeah, I'm kind of in between because I think we've had this conversation many times. How dirty air is a fact of motorsport, no matter where you're in. And I mean, ain't nothing that's going to fix it unless you raced in a video game. And I think that it's good to remember that, to be kind to our product and the sport that we love, but at the same time, to talk about it means that we care about it and means that we can still work on it, and we always can. Because I mean, there are better tracks and better races where there's the dirty air is not as big of a player. So there's work to be done, but at the same time, I think it's good to remember that that's just part of physics sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, I mean, at Pocono, if memory serves pretty well, I think we've had a couple some pretty dry races in a row at Pocono. The last real kind of exciting ending I can remember was when it was Larson versus Hamlin, and I think Hamlin not quite dumped Larson into the wall, but got into one of the sides of his rear and kind of sent him into it. But yeah, there've been a couple dry races at Pocono, and it's depends on the car, depends on the day. Like even going back to Kansas, it was good last couple of years, not this year. But yeah, I mean Pocono seems like a hard track to pass regardless. For some reason, y'all can disagree with me because my memory only really goes back 2 or 3 years on that track.
I think it's always been more difficult, but I think it's a bit worse now.
Oh, for sure, definitely now.
Yeah.
Man, I remember watching. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I forgot your point. I said I can't disagree with it because like you said, 30 years will and always be a factor. I think my bigger, my counterpoint was it was never this bad. And there was always been ways where, well, I mean, there is ways to counteract it. I mean, to a certain extent, there's always an extent to where like you can minimize it. I'm not saying the Gen 4 cars were perfect machines, but they certainly handled it a lot better. And even the later COT era cars from 2011 to 2012 handled it better. And even 2014 cars were able to offset some of the dirty air, even though had like a higher downforce configuration compared to most of the Gen 6, most of the Gen 6's time pre 550 package. So I don't know.
Right. Pre 550 package is the key word there.
Key, yeah.
Yeah, the 550 package was brutal. It was especially that first race where Logano was so much slower. I can't remember who was behind him, but I just remember that thing was
2020 Kansas. 2020 Kansas, where Harvick was a faster car and he was trying to pass him for like the last 50 laps and he couldn't.
Yeah, you would just get right up to him, and there wasn't enough horsepower or anything to counteract the dirty air and the downforce, so you just couldn't get around him. I remember how slow, like it started to bunch up the field. That's how slow he was going up front.
Yeah, it checks out.
How are we doing on time?
We got a minute left.
Cool.
But yeah, that's my take on it. I think moving on to Atlanta now.
Yeah.
What were you guys' thoughts on the race there?
So I had the privilege of being there, which was awesome. So starting with the first weekend of the bracket challenge, I think Atlanta was probably a a good and a bad weekend for that because the crashes, of course, busted brackets, but I don't think NASCAR really wanted to give away $1 million anyway. Well, it's the driver's $1 million, but there's the FanDuel part. Anyway, it was a good weekend for racing, though. I mean, had a front row seat for I think the biggest wreck, definitely the biggest wreck this year. Might be the biggest wreck in terms of cars involved in the last 5 years or something I can remember, unless there was a bigger one. But yeah, we had our big one in Atlanta. The rest of the racing was great to watch. Denny Hamlin actually mentioned it in his podcast that the racing was so much better because the cars could get strung out. Like with half the field eliminated, people kind of had room to make runs and everything, which has kind of been missing from Atlanta for the last couple of years since the semi super speedway reconfig. But yeah, the racing was great. I mean, it was really fun to watch as a spectator. Of course, I'm a little biased given the winner of that race. I won't talk about that too much. But yeah, it was great to watch. Teammates work together, RFK and Hendrick. Some guys come and go through the field. That was really fun to watch, and it kind of reminded me almost of old Atlanta after that wreck. So I think it was definitely a good race.
I'm inclined to agree. I was also had the privilege of going to Atlanta, and I mean, I can say it from an unbiased perspective. My guy got taken out lap 1 of stage 2, so it was a bit more of an unfortunate situation for me. But I think that was probably the closest we've seen to Gen 4, like early 2000s plate racing, where cars could get strung out and handling actually mattered a lot. And I think it really starts to make you like wonder, like, is it time to take off some of the drag off the spoiler, or shorten the spoiler up a little bit for the plate track so you can make handling matter a little bit more than usual. I think that could be like the secret to be able to fix the problem that we somewhat have right now with the plate tracks.
Well, I'm glad you boys were lucky enough to be able to see that race in person. This is the first time I haven't gone to Atlanta in gotta be 5 years. It's been a while, but I didn't get to watch it on TV because I was really busy, vacation and spending time with family. But I got to see some of the highlights, and it looked awesome, really action packed. Super sad that I missed it, but to talk about drivers who are winning that have been doubted, Chase Elliott has got to be at the top of that. And I mean, I don't really think the doubt was worth it or deserved, because I mean, the guy was the highest driver who wasn't in the playoffs, and I mean, he won the Clash and he's been up front almost all year. Past 2 years, really. So it was only a matter of time. I mean, just the ebbs and flows of the sport. That's kind of what I put it down to. So when people say Chase Elliott is actually kind of underrated, weirdly enough, I can sort of see it and see how they can say that. But I mean, this is Chase Elliott's second win at Atlanta, his home track, which is cool. I'm sure he's loving the fact that this package is here because he sucked at Atlanta before this package, unfortunately. But I mean, really cool. And then plus the fact that he won with the paint scheme, you know, that was really special. So I think it's just like, you know, it's one of those. I don't remember what video game it's from, Fallout or the other Bethesda game, the thing where it's like everybody like that.
Borderlands?
Was it Borderlands?
It might be.
Is that
It's
I
the
don't
one I
remember.
can think of.
One of those games, but yeah, that was one of those moments, I would say. I think reading that, I was at a diner eating a cheeseburger and cheese fries, and my spirits were instantly lifted. Didn't take much more than a Chase Elliott win at Atlanta.
Sirens ringing in Dawsonville. Mm-hmm.
I think one cool tidbit for me is I had a friend drive 10 hours. He's an online friend that I've known for a few years, and I had the privilege of meeting him and his mother and his girlfriend at Atlanta, and he was a Chase Elliott fan, and he had never seen him win in person. And I think it was just the coolest thing to. I didn't get to see him after the race, unfortunately, because they were heading out really quickly. Because they live a ways away, but he told me that if he had been in better circumstances, where he'd been a bit more properly hydrated, he definitely would have cried. Which I can't blame him. I think it's a very special feeling to see your favorite driver win in person. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, my only regret is I did not get to stay to the end because I was there with another one of our mutual friends. I was there, and we were there with Suarez, and he had a rough night. It was a little depressing all around until that Elliott win at the end. I was listening on the radio, but that's my only regret. I didn't get to watch that finish. I was listening to it, and I kind of got distracted for the last 6 laps, and then looked back down, and it was still on the app saying Keselowski was up front, and I was like, oh, I guess he won. And I looked and saw it. NASCAR posted it that Chase had won, and that was great. That was a nice up on what was a little bit of a depressing night, but can't complain there.
Yeah, that was a moment. That was a moment to be a Suarez fan, for sure.
All right, what we got on time?
We got 2 minutes.
Okay.
Well, I did want to mention that speaking of Keselowski, this is the second time that he was running in the lead at the end of one of these Atlanta races. It might have been a third time. It might have happened. I mean, we've had so many races where Keselowski's in contention at super speedways, and for whatever reason, it just gets thrown away at the end. And that is kind of sad. I'm a big Brad K fan, and it's been real rough for him, and especially at super speedways, that's kind of at one time that was his bread and butter. So it's really sad to go to these places and not be excited for how Brad will run, even if he runs well. It ain't over till it's over.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, this is.
I think it was interesting. I think it was interesting to. I think it was interesting to see how they played out with like the team game and stuff, and I think ultimately towards the end, I mean, you could see Busher got shuffled out towards the end, and it just ultimately never panned out for Brad after that. Because I mean, 200 cars versus one RFK car, you know who's going to be pushing who. But I mean, he's been on the receiving end of it. He's been on the winning side of it and on the losing end of it. So I mean, it's just kind of how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. Speaking of team play, I got a little bit of a note later on about Bowman and Elliott,
Okay.
which I thought was a really cool dynamic coming into that race.
All right, I'm ready for it whenever we get to that. Moving on to Chicago, though. I unfortunately did not get to watch it that much. I was busy supporting some friends because they were doing a show up in Marietta, so I just never got the opportunity to really watch the race. I saw the first few laps. I saw the hosts of our incident, and I stopped watching after that. So
I got to watch about stage 1, and then had to listen to it on the way home. I was driving, but I mean it's a similar theme to the last couple of years. Luckily, there wasn't any rain threat until the end of the race there, which I'll get to that too. But I don't think anybody's surprised he didn't get crashed out. So Shane Van Gisbergen ultimately won there, and I think Reddick. I know Taylor, we had talked about before this. Reddick had some good speed there. He just seemed to. He got up to third and just kind of stalled out. Couldn't catch Ty Gibbs. And then Ty Gibbs' story. I'm a little bit biased against Ty Gibbs, but got in second, had some good speed. Got to Shane's rear bumper a couple times, but he could never capitalize. And then there were, the racing between Bowman and Bubba. I think was the best battle of that race. They just beating and banging on each other. I know it's motivated by the bracket, so there was no real beef between them. There probably was some. There definitely was some before, but according to their interviews, they kind of don't view it that way now. But yeah, I mean, similar themes. Not a whole lot of room to do passing unless you're Shane Van Gisbergen, who can make that thing super, super narrow when he needs to. But yeah, I mean, other than the Bowman and Bubba clash, there wasn't really a whole lot of just super aggressive, fun to watch racing. Y'all can disagree with me because I didn't really get to watch after stage one. There could have been some other battles I didn't get to see and I was just listening to, but that's kind of what I garnered from that.
Well, I'm not too much different than y'all. I did not get to watch the race, unfortunately. One of the best venues of the entire year, and missed that one as well. But continuing the theme of drivers that have been doubted, SVG winning, I'm not going to say that he's been in doubt. I mean, he literally won a couple races ago. But, I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, well, he's just a throwaway contender. He's going to be a first-round exit. And maybe he will be. But, heck, William Byron could be a first-round exit at this point. Chase Elliott could be. You never know. So, I think this is kind of like, hey, this is putting him on the map. Like, he won his first race ever. Yeah, that's great. He won another one. Great. But, I mean, he's won 2 races in a season. There's not a lot of NASCAR drivers of all the individuals that have ever started a NASCAR race that can say that have won 2 races in a season. There's more that have not among winners. So that's pretty cool. That's really cool. I think that puts him on the map. I don't care if he's not good at ovals or whatever. So I think history was made, even if it's, debatable if that was really history. But I think it's on theme for the past couple of weeks. Some really interesting winners, and SVG being one of the most interesting, just because of what he's accomplished by doing that.
For some reason, I'm blanking on the track he won before this one. Where was that? Mexico. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah.
Ironically enough, also battling with Ty Gibbs, which I thought it was a nice little parallel that we had there.
Yeah. I personally don't really like Ty Gibbs. That's my bias, but I get that out of the way. I think another thing we need to mention before we're done with Chicago, though, is the very end of the race, NASCAR not throwing caution for Cody Ware, just bombing it into a tire wall. And I didn't see it on TV, but I've seen some stuff on Instagram where people were there and they said it sounded like a bomb going off. So I know there was weather in the area. I know, it was the end of the race, and they probably didn't want to have to bring everybody in to do wet tires. They wanted to get it over with. But I don't think there's really an excuse for that. Like, if NASCAR wants to be consistent, like I know we've mentioned this towards the beginning of the season, it was a problem. They should have thrown that caution. His front clip was pushed in probably 5 feet. That guy, I mean, he had smacked that wall. So that's another instance of they've been better. I'll say they've been better. There really hadn't been a lot of end race cautions since the beginning of the season, but they've definitely been better until Sunday about that.
So was that on the second to last lap?
I think so, yeah. So if they had thrown the caution, it would have gone into overtime. So yeah, it was second to last lap.
So people are just angry because of the inconsistency, right? People aren't angry because SVG won, right?
I think there's a mix, because I saw some people get mad that they're handing the foreigner a win, But my opinion on that is I think he would have had that regardless of whether winning overtime or not. He was out restarting everybody. I think out of every single restart he was up next to Ty Gibbs. He jumped him at least on the second corner he was ahead. So there are some people that are mad that think Ty Gibbs or Tyler Reddick got screwed over by that, but I personally, maybe Tyler Reddick would have gotten by Ty Gibbs on an overtime restart, but I just can't see that they would have gotten by Shane as wide as he was making that car look, or he could have made it look all race, because it seemed like towards the end he would reel it back a little bit, and then when Ty started to kind of gain time, he kind of leaned back on it. At least that's what it looked like and sounded like on the radio. But yeah, I think hopefully mostly what people are mad about is the inconsistency there.
Makes sense. I think we all can agree to that. All right. We will now segue into memory lane. So, if you guys have anything interesting to share.
Yeah, I do, but I completely forgot to actually grab it. So I gotta go get it.
I'll turn on my phone just for a brief moment.
Sorry about that. So recently I went to drove like about an hour out to hang out with some friends on Tuesday, and I went to an antique store and I struck gold. I found two program cars from Atlanta Motor Speedway. One was from the Labor Day 2012 race.
Oh, cool.
500, and you could see the 2011 race, which was also I think it was also called the Advocare 500. And I think what's special to me about these is like I've had these cars when I was a kid, but I destroyed them because I was like 6, and I think what's more interesting is these things aren't on sale on eBay at all, so they're really really hard to find, and to be able to just find them in like some antique store, kind of was like a second chance to own them and take care of them properly, And this is like my 2011 car was from my second ever race, and this was from my third ever Cup race. Fourth. Sorry, because I went to Daytona that year in July. But to me, it was still, regardless, it was so cool to be able to find such rare cars that aren't usually available to the public.
All right, I think mine's appropriate. It's just the hat I've got on. I think it's long enough now since Hooters sponsored a car. This is the Hooters Chase Elliott hat. I bought it, I think, at Talladega this year. But yeah, I thought it was appropriate because Chase won in Atlanta, and then Hooters is long gone. So just thought it'd be a little bounce back.
Nice. Very special mementos from both of y'all. But I guess beginning my 2 minutes, I'm going to go and run up there. I will willingly sacrifice part of that to go and grab what I was going to show. I'll be right back.
What antique store did you go to?
I went to one in Covington.
What was it called? Do you remember?
I forgot, but it's like a blue store, and it's like near the square where Dukes of Hazzard was mostly filmed at.
Oh, okay. All right, I might have to stop over there.
It was not. I'm not lying. There was like some unique stuff, but like yeah, it wasn't. I won't say it was too crazy.
All right, so what I have here is Bubba Wallace's first win, and it's nothing special, but I had to buy this car just because it's one of my favorite events. And I remember watching one of the best wins, like, I don't know, of emotion that I felt after a race win. I don't think it's ever been as good as when this happened. The race got rain delayed. Then I had to leave for school because they did the race on a Monday, and I left for school, and I was just standing outside of my class at KSU in the English building, and I remember checking my phone and trying to see who's running first right now, and it says the first thing that pops up is highlights from Bubba Wallace's historic win at Talladega, and I couldn't believe it. I thought I was like in like the Twilight Zone or something. But he freaking won. And I was so excited that I told the whole class, "Can y'all believe it? Bubba Wallace just won a NASCAR race." And everybody was like, "Who? What are you
Yeah,
talking?"
that checks out.
Yeah. But yeah, they had no idea that one of the biggest events in the history of sports had just happened. And I know that sounds like I'm over exaggerating, but the last time a black person won in NASCAR was almost like, I mean, what would it be? Over 50 years at that point. So that's pretty huge. And I mean all three levels, because Roger Curtis didn't win his truck race yet. So and it was Talladega, but I mean it was something, and I will never forget how I felt the day that he won in this car. I know that was over 2 minutes, but yeah,
It was a bit. It was not too bad.
It's okay. I only use like 30 seconds of my time anyway.
I used probably less than a minute too. So
yeah, right.
So
I just made up for that.
moving on to the garage, though. We have a lot of silly season news to cover here. Especially with the recent news of the 2311 lawsuit with FRM. It's been a bit crazy these last few weeks, especially with the lawsuit news. About apparently that I think their motion to appeal the appeal was denied or something, and it's looking very real that within I think at the time of it being posted, it was like 7 days they might lose their charters, both 2311 and FRM, which really, in some cases, could really deter the entirety of that could derail the entire argument of the lawsuit as a whole. And I think it's a bit concerning, but
Yeah, it is. These are two pretty invested teams in the sport. 2311 especially has got two talented drivers in Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace, and then FRM. Hadn't really been as much of a force this year as they had been in some past years, but they've still been there. I definitely think it's upsetting that NASCAR is this stubborn to its participants in negotiating anything. It's all very. It seems very greedy, is the word I was looking for. And I understand that they got to run a business, but at the same time, like the original problem was that they presented these new terms in the charter contract, and then they had what, like 6 to 12 hours to review them before they signed it, and that just, it doesn't seem very conducive to anybody really. Like of course, the big teams like Hendrick and Joe Gibbs don't really bat an eye really to that type of thing because they're pretty well established. But these two newer, smaller teams that do compete on a fairly regular basis, like Zane Smith has been up there. Well, it's the only one I can remember. But Michael McDowell had some good time, had some good speed with them. And then 2311, I mean, Tyler Reddick's up front on a regular basis. So this is, I mean, it's upsetting that NASCAR is this stubborn towards some contenders, and that's part of the reason I think that it's really hard to have some competition outside of the bigger teams.
I agree. I mean, you definitely hit the nail on the head talking about how they got to run a business, but at the same time, this NASCAR is run completely different than pretty much every major sporting league. If you can even call NASCAR like a league, but if we want to put ourselves up there on a level with the NFL or the NHL or whatever, then we should compare them. Because I know a lot of people wouldn't like that, don't really like that type of comparison, but at least when we're talking about ownership and management, it's nothing like anything else out there. And it makes sense because NASCAR is motorsports and not others, and other sports are not motorsports. But at the same time, it's that big. NASCAR is as big as it is, and I think at some point something's gotta give. Something has to change because of how uh, big the sport is, and just the modern landscape of the way that sports work. Something's gotta go with the times. So I'm inclined to agree that NASCAR definitely is being very, very greedy. And at the least, they're not thinking about the long term here. I mean, it's a family owned business, but like, how often do you see like a national sporting league or association um, as big as NASCAR run by a family? Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of weird if you really think about it. It's like kind of odd. And would you really want to be a part of that? Would you want to go and sacrifice and put down as much as these people put down to be a part of a dictatorship? That ain't cool.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. And the short sightedness is an interesting point. And I do agree that they're being short sighted with certain things. But if you're willing to go to take a strike and go to Le Mans and go advertise over Le Mans a couple years ago with the Garage 56 car, but you're not willing to help your domestic teams out, the ones that are already there, and be a little bit more forward with them about contract, charter, whatever. That's a problem. I mean, you're trying to go get new audience, but you're losing the old ones when you act like that or you operate like that way.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. That's my closing statement on that.
That's a good theme.
But moving on to other silly season news, we also have this is hard to explain. This is hard to announce for me. But Suarez contract situation. I think a lot of people saw it coming. I think even as a Suarez fan, it's been a very difficult season to watch. It's been very brutal, very trying. Um, and I think I honestly still have a belief though that Justin Marks still was willing to give Suarez a chance next year. I think the bigger problem was, however, Jimmy Johnson attempted to expand Legacy Motor Club to 3 cars with the Rick Ware Racing lawsuit, which we'll get into in a moment. Ultimately, Justin Marks just believed it was worth it to just jump the gun and just promote. Well, it's not official, but we all know that Zilich is going to take that right up in Cup. That's what I think prompted Suarez's exit, was Johnson trying to poach Zilich. Ultimately, forced Marks' hand here. It's a bit difficult. It's a bit of a difficult pill to swallow, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to see where he lands. He could take up that legacy seat. I mean, if Ty Dillon, if Matt Colley doesn't deem Ty Dillon fit for the car, maybe he could take up the seat at the 10, or whatever Rick Ware Racing will morph into next season potentially. That maybe could open a seat for him. Or I think probably the safest route would probably be go to JRM and Xfinity. And he's already proven that he can succeed with them in Mexico City. But I think it's just right now it's just a lot of uncertainty in the air about his future right now. So
Yeah, and I hate that for him because he's one of those guys that definitely can compete. The way I would compare him is like the Martin Truex Jr. Furniture Row type days. Maybe not quite exactly the same, but he just doesn't seem to have. They don't seem to have equipment really that will compete up front. And then in Atlanta, when they did, he got caught up in that big old wreck and got crashed out. But I don't think I'd be particularly worried about where he ends up in the future because he will end up back in Cup. He will. I'm not sure where because I don't think I've really heard very much about any seats that are going up for grabs. But if he needs to go to Xfinity for a year or two just to kind of wait on a seat, I think he would do very super well in Xfinity. He's a good race car driver. When he is competing, he comes in clutch, like the 3 wide Atlanta finish, and then Sonoma a couple of years ago. There's still half the season left. So even though he's leaving Trackhouse, which they said it was a mutual thing, so I hope he got some sort of say in that. But there's still half the season left, and Sonoma. I think Sonoma this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a good track for him, and then there's some other opportunities for him. So even though he's leaving, I think he's still got some places where he can show when he's got equipment capable of competing that he will compete. And I'm sad to see him leave Trackhouse because him in the '99 was a pretty sick run. But I think he's going to be fine. He's a good enough race driver. He has enough racecraft where he'll be all right.
Makes sense. I hope you're right. I feel like everybody that tells me, every person that I talk to says otherwise. I'm inclined to agree with you. It's just you hear a lot of people say a lot of things, and it feels bleaker than it really is sometimes.
Yeah, I see that. He just every time I've seen where he is, it just seems like he'll stall out in a position, which tells me that his car is just not, or his equipment is just not handling and not up to par with the people that are top 10. And it would be different. It would be different if he is crashing out every weekend, or if he can't make passes anywhere, which is not true. Like he'll pass up and pass up. When he stalls out that way, it tells me that his equipment is limiting. And other people have a different view on that. But it's also, I might be a little biased because I've gotten to meet him, and he's just, having a NASCAR driver remember your name when you met them once, and I'm sure he meets like 100 people a weekend. But I met him 2 years ago. I walked up to him at pit lane. He remembered my name, which is something that it just seems like it's unheard of with these guys that are as high up as they are. So anybody who is that personable will go far. He's a super nice guy, so I definitely hope he lands somewhere good that gives him a good opportunity to compete.
I feel like I'm beating a dead horse with this similar motif because I mention it a lot every time on these podcast episodes, but I feel very similar. I feel a very strong sentiment towards that same thing, and I'm trying to put my biases aside for the most part here because I feel like it's like based on people that like aren't Suarez fans are telling me this stuff, but like that guy is special to me, man. I remember this year at the open house. I remember that's funny. He doesn't even know my name still, but like he still remembers like a conversation that I told him like a while ago. He was like, this year at the open house, he was like, you told me you wanted to be an engineer, right? And he not only remembers me, but remembers my dad as well. In February, I remember he was like, where's your dad at, bro? Did he just not want to show up today or something? It was like, and since my dad's from Mexico, I think as we all know, and to be able to speak fluent Spanish with him, it just means so much more to me. It's like, to me, like I don't see myself rooting for another driver as much as I root for Daniel under any circumstances. He could go down to Xfinity. I'd rather go watch Saturday races than Cup races, low-key. But yeah, sorry, that was a bit too emotional, maybe a bit too personal, but yeah. I think you've already shared your thoughts, right, Taylor?
Y'all pretty much summed it up.
Yeah.
I did really want to talk about before we get into Rick Ware, because that's going to be a long topic. This one's going to be short, but I just want to talk about what's going on with William Byron. Frankly, he's really sucked starting at Pocono when I picked him. Actually, he's kind of sucked in Mexico. He just sucked. He's sucked for the past month and a half. What happened to Byron? He's won one race this year. You would have thought he would have won more, but no. So what the heck's going on with William Byron? Like, Hendrick Motorsports usually has a summer slump. That's like a thing, and Byron is like the poster child for the Hendrick summer slump. Always has. But I feel like I'm feeling that pretty heavy right now.
You say that, but he's still ahead in the point standings. I mean, he would be ahead by more if his clutch didn't crap out on lap 1 in Chicago. But I think it's a similar situation to Chase Elliott that he's been having. It's just it's hard to win. It is, like, especially with this car. But you chain top 10 finishes and you're just fine in the point standing. So I don't think there's really anything to be worried about, especially because you mentioned there's that Hendrick summer slump. But I mean, he's up front pretty regularly. Maybe not lately, but I think come fall he'll be back into it.
I wouldn't be too concerned either. I mean, you could say a similar thing for Bell. He somewhat went cold for a few weeks during the season, but he's still running decently well. And I mean, even at Chicago, he was honestly faster. He was like 3/10 faster than I think SVG, was it, or was it whoever was second? It was some crazy stuff. It was like 3/10 up before he destroyed the left rear toe link, I think it was. The left rear of the car as a whole, I think. Or was it the right rear? I forget. But he destroyed one of the rear corners of it before having to go to a backup and ultimately having that clutch failure. I think the speed's still there. I think more often than not, it's merely circumstantial. And that's like what Wiley said. It come playoff time, he'll turn up the jets.
Right. Yeah. So I guess we'll talk about the in-season tournament for a minute. What do y'all think?
Todd Dillon, the GOAT.
I actually picked Ty Dillon, bro. And you know what I also did? I picked Priest over Byron, bro. I felt so smart. I think unfortunately, out of all the matchups, I only got out of the 16 matchups in Atlanta, I only got 4 of them. Let me look it up actually. Let me tell you what I got.
I didn't end up making a bracket, but I do think that, like I mentioned earlier, Atlanta is a good and a bad opener for that. The Noah Gragson is eating this shit up though. Like it's so funny. The him and Chase Briscoe thing and the him and Ryan Priest thing, which is hilarious. I almost wish he would have gone further just so the shit talk. And I know it's not real, but just so that could keep going. Like it's just so funny. And I wish more drivers could do that. I know Ty Dillon had his "I beat your favorite driver" Hamlin fans thing, which were really funny. So I think it definitely creates some entertainment because the Bubba and Bowman thing I mentioned earlier too. So I think it's a welcome spark in the middle of the season.
That makes sense. I'll tell you. Okay, here are my 4 matchups that I got right. It was Reddick over Larson, Priest over Byron, Brad Keselowski over Kyle Busch, and Ty Dillon over Denny Hamlin. Those were my only 4 picks that hit, and I was like, dang. I don't care what people say. Maybe my bracket might have been terrible because in the end, ultimately, I had Ross Chastain winning it all. But man, that was cool. To have Ty Dillon beat Denny Hamlin. I just knew that Hamlin was going to get in a wreck. It wasn't like there's no bad blood, even though I do have some opinions on Denny Hamlin. I just figured it was like I just think he's going to get a bad luck of the draw and get in the wreck. And well, we saw what happened with the 19 car pileup. So
I did not make a bracket either. My bad.
Oh,
Go ahead.
good. No, I was gonna ask you, and you just said it, so you're all good.
Well, next year I'm definitely going to, because this is such a cool thing. I think with all the different broadcast partners coming in with all these new ideas and everything, it's really spicing it up. Instead of it just being Fox and then NBC. And NBC is great, but I don't know. I think it's kind of adding to the whole NASCAR not making it the same as it always was kind of thing. We're going to new places, new tracks. It's not the same thing it's been for 40 years, which we need some of that same stuff. But it's really adding to that spiciness that makes it really interesting to tune in every week.
I will say one thing. My friend was very opinionated on the subject of the in season tournament because not because it was bad, but it was just like he just thought it was annoying that they were for the driver intros they were being like all extra and stuff. He thought it was more annoying than anything, which I can also understand to like some viewers it could be like that, but I think en masse it's not terrible.
Yeah, I mean, where's the personality? That's part of what we're missing here.
That is
Like,
true as well.
like I mentioned, the Noah Gragson thing was great, and the Ty Dillon thing was great. Even though neither of them have been up front very much, if at all, during the season. And then there was, and then even not even in the in season tournament, Carson Hocevar kind of maybe not super a ton of person that. Well, I take that back. The Twitch streams I've kind of seen, but on the track he's got some personality, and uh, we haven't really seen something like that since a lot of people compare him to 2022 Ross Chastain, and then Hendrick kind of bit his balls, I guess, a little bit. You can say what you want about that. He kind of cried a little bit to Chevy. And then Kyle Busch, he's still got the personality, but he's not up front really to show it. And then Denny Hamlin, of course, he does a little bit of trolling every now and then, which I don't really, I don't like Toyota, but I can admire him for that bit of personality. Like, there's not enough of that anymore, and that's this sport's fun to watch.
I agree.
I can't disagree entirely. I'm not a big Hamlin fan, but I think that's part of the point. He's supposed to be the villain a little bit. But yeah. I would have a much more elaborate opinion, but we have about a minute left, so I think we can spare my opinions on Hamlin another day.
Well, I think that in 20 years, we're going to look back on this era of NASCAR, what's going on now, and we're going to miss it so much. We're going to miss that HendrickCars.com scheme running around the track because it's not going to run forever. There'll be a day when it's not there, and we're going to think, wow, how lucky we were to see such a talent. See Denny Hamlin and his podcast and how vocal he is and everything that's going on. As bland as some of the personalities in NASCAR are, I think we're going to look back on this, and I think we're not. We don't see that until we're out of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Dale Earnhardt was hated by a lot of people before he died. So you just never know.
He'd have his own crowd, his home crowd boo him, which is quite crazy to think about. I think it's a bit more unheard of in today's NASCAR. Like, I mean, at least when you go to Vegas, like, during Kyle Busch's heyday, he would definitely still get some cheers, but not so much.
Yeah. His last race in the number 18, or not the last race, but the last time he was in the playoffs in the number 18 before he got eliminated, when his engine blew and you could see that smoke coming out of the side pipes, you could hear some cheers. I forget what track that was at, but
that was Darlington.
I remember.
I was there.
Yeah, there were some cheers. No, it's appreciated adding to the story for the viewers here. But yeah, I mean, when there's nothing polarizing, it's not as fun because then it goes both ways. You either root for the villain or you root against them, and it gets people invested. It's entertainment after all, mostly, or that's what it is to a lot of people.
Moving on to now some nitty gritty stuff with the potential sale of Recore Racing for $100 million, and still the ongoing problem of the Legacy Motor Club lawsuit that's going on. I feel like I'm still somewhat in the dark on this subject, and I don't know what to think of it.
Yeah, I have no idea either. So I'm gonna let y'all.
I think there was a written agreement that Legacy was supposed to sell a charter. The charter was to be sold to Rick Ware, but apparently they were arguing about it at some point. I don't know. I forgot what happened. I forgot what was the ultimate result of the lawsuit, or if it's still ongoing or not. I'm kind of in the dark on that. I've been very busy with life and stuff. But now there's another foray in here, another problem in here, that apparently Rick Ware's offering up his team, which includes the European Le Mans division that they had. Presumably some stake in IndyCar if they're still racing in IndyCar. I do not believe they are, but in the event that they still have a IndyCar entry, and a bunch of other every asset that they've ever had and that involves motor racing is going up for sale, basically for $100 million. And apparently, the rumor has it that I think one of the Spire co-founders that is no longer involved with Spire Motorsports is the one who's going to be purchasing it. I don't know if it has been purchased. I don't know if he's going to purchase it. This is all just things that I've heard and I've seen.
TJ Pusher, the guy that was once involved with Spire, and that's what I could have sworn that it was actually sold. And that's kind of interesting that you bring up the Rick Ware Racing forays into other motorsports, because I remember they were involved in the Penny Series. I don't know if they're still there. IndyCar, obviously, drag racing, like you said, Le Mans, and
The European Le Mans series, and I think they had a MotoGP team, but do not quote me on that. Do not quote me on that. I'm. Let me look it up. Let me verify.
They used to have a late model team too. And they also raced in like other GT series, like they raced in Japan at one point, and like Cody Ware won.
Oh yeah, in the Asia Le Mans series, yeah.
I might have had a dirt racing program too at one point.
So they obviously raced NASCAR, extensive NASCAR history. They raced in the Rolex Sports Car Series, which is like the precursor to IMSA, the Asian Le Mans Series, which is what you were talking about, and IMSA and the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship with the LMP2. And I think they also raced in the Sports Car Challenge in an LMP3 car in 2024. They also do have a foray in and motorcycle racing, except it's just all more AMA stuff and WAMA, and even in the Summer X Games.
Interesting. So weird.
They also did at one point the Allison Legacy Series, which is a stock car racing series, which scaled down Cup Series cars, or a Cup Series chassis with the. This is crazy. Okay. Yeah, this is nuts. Also, I can't confirm they did not return to IndyCar this year, in 2025, but they had been racing from 2020 to 2024.
My question is why? Why does Rick Ware just really love racing? Because I feel like all the money and the time and the resources they could put into all those things, they could put it into NASCAR team, and maybe they would have been really competitive, actually. And where did Rick Ware make his money? He used to be a NASCAR driver, but he wasn't very good. I've never looked this up. I'm sure it's an easy thing to find, but I just wonder why and how is he funding all of this crap?
Seems like he's trying to be like Red Bull, where Red Bull seems to have their hand in literally everything. Just like one of those companies, man. Let's just kick ass. Or yeah, I mean, Red Bull, Rick Ware Racing and Red Bull are definitely totally different things. But I don't know. I mean, that's the thing, dude. Like, I love it when people who have a lot of money do cool shit. They don't just kind of sit and are lame. It's kind of a thing. But I'd much rather someone do like Rick Ware shit with their money. Like you just go do everything, you go do all the cool stuff that you can possibly do, than do like one thing and be like this hated billionaire or whatever. But I'll end that there. But I think it's cool. I think it's cool that you go do all that cool shit with it.
That's a great take. I've never heard that take on Rick Ware, but I definitely welcome.
I can agree. I can understand that take, but I just think it's really dumb that for like 4 years this guy was hoarding NASCAR chargers just to pick up the paychecks. Which I guess ultimately this is what that's what the paychecks, the charter paychecks came in, and that's why he's doing all this cool stuff now. But I don't know. It just seemed kind of silly, and I think I'm inclined to agree with what went down at Vegas. I think it was 2019 or 2021 or 2020, sorry, with Kyle Busch and the lap cars, where he was really annoyed with him. So I don't know. I'm of that kind of perspective a little bit.
Yeah, believe it or not, Rick Ware Racing used to be a lot worse.
Yeah.
I think they fielded like 4 cars in a couple races, or at
They
least
had
3.
They did in fact have 4 charters, bro. That I can. It's insane. It's insane to think about.
Oh yeah, the big 3: Hendrick,
Gibbs.
Gibbs, and Rick Ware, freaking Racing. I guess there was Stuart Haas had before too. So,
That is true.
the
Who else
big,
had a 4? The big 4.
I mean, Penske technically does. I guess
Not
there you
really.
go. The big 5. Well, we did. I did want to mention the fact that Cody Ware is apparently going to continue being the driver for the team, and I personally, I get why it's happening. I'm sure it's some kind of part of the negotiations and probably in the contract and whatnot. But I don't. It doesn't take me to tell you guys that that's not the right decision. That's not the driver you want to build a new team around. And like the seeing Cody Ware continuously drive that car, the purest form of nepotism in NASCAR, probably the worst case of it in the series history. Like as you said, it's like Rick Ware hoarding all the charters, trying to collect a paycheck. Well, this is, I mean, he's not doing the exact same thing, but this is an extension of that, and trying to serve his son's interest. I don't understand why. Maybe I guess he just really loves his son. I guess, but I don't know. It's just kind of odd. I guess I'm not trying to throw shade, but I just from a purely performance standpoint, I'm sure Cody Ware is a lot better than we see on track because I'm sure the equipment is holding him back. Because I think he ran pretty good in those Haas Rick Ware cars, or no RFK supported Rick Ware cars, but not the driver you want to build your team around.
I also thought that he was supposed to have been suspended indefinitely from the thing that happened a couple years ago. Was it his girlfriend that he was accused of like domestic violence or something like that? Which that doesn't sit right. I feel like that's very much an example of that got swept under, which barring politically, but I don't know if there's any reason for someone to be suspended, I think that's a good one. And skill aside, anyway.
I think
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was swept under the rug. I think people definitely remember. It was just more of I think it's more of just people. Whatchamacallit? I think it's just more so money makes problems go away. More so.
Yep. I'd say you hit that one pretty good.
That's probably what happened. Probably. And based on what a lot of the drivers and people in the industry say about Cody Ware on the radio, like why he's even on track. And, it talked about his emotions, the vibe from what little people have said about Cody Ware. It doesn't exactly track well for his credibility based on his on-track actions and what people say on the radio and like radioactive and incidents with Cody Ware. It all kind of, it doesn't look good. I used to be a Cody Ware believer. Really thought like the mental health image. I mean, NASCAR drivers are supposed to be superheroes, and he's out here bringing awareness to that kind of stuff. I thought that was a really pleasant surprise, and not to mention he was a big gamer. He liked watching anime. Like he just seemed like he was like a normal person that also just happened to drive race cars. I thought that was really cool, but he kind of lost me there after the incident.
For sure. I mean, I think what needed to be said has been said. So I think y'all pretty much hit the nail on the head on that. All right, moving on to the lower divisions. I don't know. I haven't kept up too much with trucks. I know the last race at Lime Rock, and I heard Heim dominated, and it was nice to see Jordan Taylor. You know, prototype, currently a prototype racer. Raced for Corbett Racing for a few years. Now races back with his dad's team at Wayne Taylor Racing. It's really nice to see him come back to NASCAR after subbing in for Chase Elliott at Coda in 2023, I believe, for his broken leg.
Yep. I was excited about that when it happened.
I didn't have high hopes because it was the wasn't it the 07 truck?
On Lime Rock.
Yeah, was that the truck that Taylor was driving?
Oh yeah, I was talking about the sub in for Chase Elliott. I was excited for that when that happened.
Oh, that is fair.
But I don't think he came further forward than top 15 in that race. But anyway, it was a cool thing to see.
He did start fourth though.
That is true. Well, I think just to start off about it, I think Connor Zilich has arrived. I mean, he already won Coda, and he's been pretty competitive on all different types of oval tracks. But a track he's never even seen before he stepped onto it, I mean, he won it. I mean, they don't call it the Tricky Triangle for no reason. Then, of course, Dale Jr. Winning on the pit box was pretty cool. Doesn't matter what Kyle Bish wanted to say about it; it's still pretty awesome.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I get the racetrack beef, maybe, but dude's been retired for X amount of years, and maybe it's just part of the personality. So I won't complain too much about that because I just talked about how we're missing that. But I was happy to see that. That was a pretty cool story.
I don't know. I thought it was. I don't really have too much of a say in it. It kind of just came and went for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. With the Dale Jr. crew chiefing thing, I think it was nice for novelty, and I'm not gonna sit here and say I have the Kyle Busch perspective, where he was just like, oh, it's just for show. I don't think Dale would go up there if it was just for show. I think he's a bit more of a doer than a shower. But yeah, it didn't really capture my interest. I can imagine it's a very interesting perspective though, because you have a driver, someone who's driven the car somewhat recently, and he's able to provide you some form of feedback, and maybe could teach you a thing or two, so to speak, in a sense, or maybe I don't know.
Yeah, there's no way he did not.
So yeah,
I agree.
saying?
There's no way there's no way he did not weigh in on that race at all. There's definitely some kind of role that he would have had to play, or he, like you said, he wouldn't have done it. Wholeheartedly agree about that.
Yeah.
I guess talking about Atlanta. Oh, go ahead.
That's about it. That's about all I have to really talk about for the Xfinity side. I know SVG won Chicago, and some people were unhappy about that. As well. And then
He dumped.
They made contact going into turn one, and then Zilich, and then by the time they got into turn one, I think Zilich got run out wide. I know some people like to make the debate about Shane Connor Zilich clearing him before SVG sent it in, but I don't know. I mean, I wasn't paying too much attention to the race when it happened, so I don't really have a strong opinion on it.
Yeah, me neither. Only race I watched of those three was Pocono. But I think the stories from all of them were pretty cool. So, I mean, Nick Sanchez winning Atlanta, I mean, that's pretty awesome. It's kind of bittersweet because it's not Kligerman wheeling that car in a victory lane when he probably should have a couple times. But still cool, and I'm sure you're pretty happy about Nick Sanchez winning for real.
I actually wore Sanchez shirt the day of, so it was pretty neat to see him get his first win. My friend was talking crap to me prior to the race, saying, "Oh, dude, he sucks. Oh, he's not gonna win, especially after the spin, bro." And it kind of.
Yeah. How the heck did he come back from that?
I mean,
was
Byron
like,
did it.
he's out.
Byron did it in 23, so crazy things have happened. I mean, sure, you could argue that the Xfinity car isn't as rigid as the next gen, but still.
Yeah, I mean, for an Xfinity car at a drafting track, what the heck? That's kind of unheard of.
Yeah, can't entirely disagree.
Yeah, I did. I pulled up Instagram and saw 48 win in Xfinity, and was like, wait, Clearman finally got one? And then I looked and it was Nick Sanchez. Good for him too, man. Glad he got it. That's my only thought on that. It's just funny.
I know a lot of people. Were upset that Parker Kligerman was gone, and I was one of those people too. But I think the car is in good hands, and I even go out on a limb and say he might be doing better than Kligerman. Not to say Kligerman's a bad driver, but I think back to his run, especially particularly at Charlotte, where he was able to hang with like Zilich and Byron as well at one point. Well, not really Byron, but you know he was running in the top 5 towards the end when he needed to run well. So.
Yeah, I think that 48 car. I think the best way to put it is that both Kligerman and Sanchez, they are able to get out a lot of that car. They get out probably what they should be getting out of it. But I would agree with you that Sanchez, at least on the eye test, looks to be better than Kligerman.
Yeah.
Both are good though. That car I think is definitely, I think in the hands of like a Kyle Larson, that car could be a championship contender or something.
Yeah, I remember when Reddick stepped in briefly in 2022, I believe, and he won on the spot. I think it had some RCR, it had some more RCR support than other cars than most of their other cars at the time, and they were still a newer team, but it was still something to note of.
And then Heim, it's the Corey Heim series, so I'm not too surprised. The Corey Heim Truck Series. I think Lime Rock is a really cool venue to race at. That's something you would never expect NASCAR. Nonetheless, much less the NASCAR Truck Series. So I really like that. And then obviously the Mike Joy connection was really cool. So
That is fair.
Lime Rock is, I think it's in Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken.
It's in Connecticut.
Oh, same thing basically.
Yeah.
Not the same thing. Still cool.
Give me a moment. I'll be back. Y'all can continue on the podcast without me, real quick, because I'm not. You can cut this out, but my parents just got home, so.
Okay. But I was curious your thoughts on, and I said this in the group chat. What do you think about SVG's chances in the playoffs to make it especially past the round of 12? I think it is because he's got 2. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Because he's got 2 wins already. He's got the Glen or Sonoma this weekend, the Glen in the regular season, and that should be enough points to cushion him past the round of 16. And then I believe in the round of 12 is Charlotte Roval, and if he is able to win that race, then he will then be in the round of 8. I don't really see a huge likelihood of him making it past there, just because the red courses are done at that point. The only one I can maybe see him being up front is Talladega, and even then, it's a slim chance. He'd have to make it past all Rex and pack racing and all that, which he's been, when I've been paying attention, he's been all right at the drafting tracks, but yeah. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
So you want me to cut this out?
If you want to, I mean, it's just an interesting thing to talk about because I don't think it's a probably a lesser talked about story, but I was thinking about it lately.
No, I think it's good conversation. And my opinion on that is, I mean the first round. You said the Glen is a part of it.
No, it's the Glen and Sonoma are before the playoffs. I'm fairly certain. But I'm
Okay.
saying if he's able to win at one or both of those tracks, then that might net him enough points to cushion him through that first round.
Yeah. I guess in the first round, there's Darlington, Bristol, and Blanken on the track in the middle of those, though.
Here, I can pull up the schedule. Give me a second.
Darlington, Bristol. Darlington is going to be tough. That is going to be hard, but I remember him running okay at Darlington. I thought he finished 20th.
Yeah, top 20. Hang on. So round of
So-
16, it's Darlington, WeatherTech Raceway, and Bristol.
Hmm.
What's WeatherTech?
Okay.
Where is that? Okay.
Well, WeatherTech is a track where Hendrick isn't very good at, and WeatherTech is a really weird one, where some drivers that don't really run up front end up running up front. So I can see maybe some shakeups happening there. Darlington is a tough track, but if he ran well there before, he can maybe hang on with this one. Bristol, I mean, it's a short track. I don't remember how well he ran in the spring.
I don't think very well. I don't think it was top 20 even.
Interesting. Well, I mean, my logic is like, if SVG is going to be good at an oval, you'd think it'd be a short track. So, and I think they were, I don't remember how he ran at Martinsville, but I think people were, looking at him as favorable. And then obviously North Wilkesboro, SVG ran pretty good there. So,
Let me scroll back because I can see results. So let's look at, let's see, Martinsville. Let's see where he was at in Martinsville. He was, I think, yeah, he was 34th. So not great there. And then let's see, Darlington. Let's see, 20th at Darlington, so not terrible. So you were right there. And then Bristol. Not great here either. Bristol 38th. So I think he crashed out. He was second. He was only ahead of Josh Bullock at Bristol. But then Talladega came next. I think he was fairly close to the front if he didn't crash out. Yeah, so I think he crashed out and he was 29th. So maybe there's a little bit less than I thought to what was I gonna say? A little bit less of a chance than I thought to him making it pretty far in the playoffs. But it would literally be only off of wins from road courses. Should say enough about the playoff format, but we'd probably beat that horse to death already.
yeah. Well,
Have returned.
I mean, we're just talking about SVG's chances to make it through the playoffs, and round of 16, I could see if he runs okay at Darlington, and even if he's got some bad races, there is a possibility of him being one of those like on the cusp things, like where it's a battle between one driver running really good, not good in points, and he's running fifth, and then you got another driver, like I think last year Daniel Suarez was running like in the 20s at Bristol or something.
It was the 30s, man. It was bleak.
But he hung on. It was still
He
a
did hang
battle. Yeah. So I could see SVG maybe being a part of something like that. It would have to be like not something he's really competitive. Like he would have to just scrape by. And by like scrape, I mean seriously.
Yeah.
Like it'd be +1 or something. But I don't really see that really happening. But if he does make it to the round of 12,
then he's got Roval, and then and then if he wins there, then he'd be in the round of 8. But that's realistically the furthest I see him getting is round of 8.
hey, momentum's a hell of a drug, and I think he's getting better at ovals consistently. So that's something to mind.
Once he figures ovals out, everybody's in some trouble. Especially if they keep the current playoff format, everybody's in some deep shit.
I think it'll be much harder to dominate ovals as he does the road courses now, so I wouldn't be too quick to jump the gun on that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's hard to dominate the ovals, but when you dominate one format of track, just period, especially with this format, you're sitting pretty as far as playoffs goes. So like the way Kyle Larson is on mile and a halves is if he's able to dominate there, he's farming points. And then the way Denny Hamlin is he's also Denny Hamlin's also got a pretty good record on mile and a halves. But y'all know what I'm saying, right? Where if you're locked like SVG is, almost winning the road courses, like anybody else might be with another format of track, then that's good odds right there.
That is fair. So moving on to the winner's circle. I think the best so team of the past 3 weeks will probably be like the team that you want to watch out for. I'll take that.
Yes.
Racing Cup. I want to say maybe I'm beating a dead horse here because I think we've touched on this topic, but honestly, he's not doing super remarkable, but I still think it's something to keep note of, especially with how people were giving him a very hard time last year, and it would be John Hunter Nemechek. I think he's still stacking up really nicely in points. Probably at least compare in comparison to Eric Jones, it's not as one-sided as it was last year. I mean, Eric Jones is right now 17th in points with 393, and John Hunter Nemechek is less than 25 points behind him in 20th. And he's ahead of the likes of Carson Hocevar and Josh Berry, which have been touted as like doing really well at certain races throughout the season. So I think some respect needs to be put on John Hunter Nemechek's name, and he's not as bad as people make him out to be.
I don't really have the problem is with the last couple of weeks, there hasn't really been one team that has been sparking really anything above the others. I mean, maybe Joe Gibbs with Chase Briscoe at Pocono, and then Ty Gibbs in second at Chicago. But other than that, the only other one I can think of would maybe be not even RFK, because they were only really up front in Atlanta. But I'm going to go with Joe Gibbs because that's the only one I can really think of where all 3 weeks they've had some competitive cars, at least in Atlanta before the wreck. But yeah, I'll say Joe Gibbs. I think Ty Gibbs has done a better job on road courses. Give him credit where he deserves it. And then Chase Briscoe with that win. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Joe Gibbs.
For me, it's Alex Bowman and the number 48 team. Helping Elliott get that win, pushing him and working as a team instead of being selfish and trying to go for the win like Austin Cindric or something would do. Probably 75% of the garage would probably do in that situation. Alex Bowman was a team player there, finished third. That's really great. Had a pretty good showing at Chicago. Had that really good battle with Wallace. And I don't think he's finished worse than like 11th the past at least 4 races, I want to say. He might have finished. Yeah, I think he finished 11th at Pocono. Or at least it wasn't that bad. Either way, point is he's doing a lot better than he did the month before, which was depressing, honestly, especially for how consistent and how good he was in the opening weeks of the season. So I think he's went from up here to like down here to like back up here. Despite the Hendrick summer slump, or at least at this point it's just the Byron slump, even though I think Larson's kind of not really performing as well as you'd expect him to throughout the past couple of weeks. But Bowman is showing out right now, in my opinion. And for paint scheme of the last couple of weeks, I was originally going to go with Daniel Suarez Quaker State because I think that each year they outdo themselves with those cars. They're always really beautiful at Atlanta. But I can't ignore, and you can't go without choosing the Cinnamon Toast Crunch car, which I don't remember who you even drove it. It was either Bush or Priest.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. You can't not pick that one, in my opinion. So, and as for John Hunter Nemechek, as far as him being lower in points than Eric Jones, I would have thought that based on the eye test that he'd be higher. Honestly, it kind of baffles me. Like, how is Eric Jones higher than him? Honestly, because I agree with you, but I think it feels that way just because we expect Eric Jones to be up here when he may kind of be more like here. And I think we expect John Hunter Nemechek to be like down here, but he's like here. So maybe it might just be an expectation thing, but yeah, honestly, I just feel like that gap in points. I mean, it's awesome, but I would expect it to be closer, honestly.
So I was also going to pick the Cinnamon Toast Crunch car for my paint scheme of the week, but I think this one is a good second because it kind of went unnoticed, at least in my opinion, in Chicago. Is the Napa Gold paint scheme on the 9? I love that paint scheme. I love the black and gold, the final material, everything. It's just, in my opinion, I think it's a sick looking car. So that's a close second for me.
I think for me, the best paint scheme. I don't know. I'm tempted to pick an Xfinity car, or does it have to be Cup?
I don't know. I guess we can do. What do you think? Should we keep it to Cup or not?
I think we should. I think for uniformity, I guess, since y'all pick Cup schemes.
Okay.
Salmon Toast Crunch car is high up there. Oh man, you guys are making me hungry thinking about that car. I'm not gonna lie, but I think I have to pick Chase Elliott's Atlanta winning car. I think there's some a bit more of a personal story for me with that. I had a younger brother who passed away when I was 5. He had lived like 4 months, but he passed away due to a rare heart condition at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. So to be able to see that kind of logo, like on the back of his race car every year, I've actually had the privilege of seeing it every year. I saw it twice in Darlington, and I've seen it at Atlanta ever since. And I don't know, regardless of whether my younger brother had cancer or not, I think to see the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta car, or like a child be able to design that car, is really awesome for me. And although it's really nice just to have like a kid with cancer design it, it has a lot more sentimental value because with my personal history as well. So yeah, that's my take.
I think you definitely for your reason alone, I think you definitely you win the paint scheme of the week feature. I would say.
Yay!
Agreed.
That's a terrible response, but yay!
I don't know what the person, that individual who designed the paint scheme, went through specifically, but just the miracle of them being able to not only be just alive, but also to design a paint scheme that went on not only on one of the biggest stars in motorsports, but also win a race on the biggest stage. That is, man, I don't think there's anything like that.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to make it so somber, but yeah,
Oh man, that's life.
yeah, that's for sure one way to view it. Well, yeah, that is the way to view it. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing, man.
We're nearing we're nearing the fun segment now.
Okay.
Okay, so it's gonna be about 9 minutes. I don't have any piece of trivia, but I mean, I'd like to hear your guys' first, and if I don't hear it, then I'll probably throw something out there that I know off the rip.
All right. Let's let Taylor go first because I'm in a similar situation.
All right, so yeah, I do have a question. So my question is, what car manufacturer was thinking of joining NASCAR in 1996 that had not raced in the sport since 1949. And I was thinking we could do. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Dane, you might have stumped me with that. Continue though with your question.
Well, I was just thinking we could do like a little points thing just to see who could maybe. I mean, we could maybe make this an continuous thing, but at least maybe to see who wins on the day. If I stump you guys, or if y'all stump, the other, then you get a point. But if the other person guesses it, then they get a point too.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
so it would have to have been a manufacturer that was around in 49, still 1996.
mhm.
So that already narrows it down a lot.
I think, to my knowledge, the brand competed in the very first NASCAR race, and then never again. But I could be wrong. At least it was the first season. And they were thinking of joining in 1996. If you want any hint, I don't know how I'm doing on time. It's 3 minutes for each question.
Did they end up joining or did they not?
No, sir.
They didn't.
Didn't end up
Definitely
joining.
didn't, because I think I would have heard. Can we get a hint on which major corporation it's under, or
No,
that'd
that'd
give it
be
away?
too.
That too
That would
easy.
give it away.
Okay, that gives me an idea. It gives me an idea. I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's Cadillac, because very few mad lads were willing to bust up a caddy. In the words of Slap Shoes, very few mad lads were willing to bust up a caddy for some shots and goggles. In the words of Slap Shoes, except one of those few mad lads was Junior Johnson, where he actually raced Cadillac. I feel like that could be. I feel like that's a strong guess, but I feel like it's too weird. But at the same time, GM already has two brands in there, so it could be. You go.
Well, that would be. I assume it would be wrong because they didn't race since 1949.
Oh.
So.
Oh, okay, never mind. That was a mistake on my part.
All right, so let me think for a second then.
Can I
How much
still
time
guess
do
or
we-
no? Probably. Hold on. Sorry. We've probably done about a minute and a half, right? So I'm gonna say we probably have about 2 minutes left, just to be safe, because I forgot to set up the timer. Sorry.
Okay. They went as far as creating a concept body, which did do test runs. And maybe in a little bit, I'll tell you what driver did the test
Is it
runs.
American?
No, AMC was racing
AMC
Daytona
raced in the
in the
60s.
70s.
Yeah, raced in the 60s and 70s, especially with Bobby
Not
Allen.
AMC.
What is it? Is it an American brand or no?
It is
Or
an
would that
American.
be okay? Oh my gosh, this is
The driver that ran the test sessions was John Andretti.
whoa.
What?
Yeah, 1996, John Andretti.
It can't. It's not. It can't be Buick. I'm trying to think. It can't be Olds. It can't be Buick.
The problem is almost
Cadillac.
every American brand had raced in NASCAR at one point after 49. So that I
Okay,
feel
wait. What year was the test?
1996.
Okay,
There is
he was
one
definitely
brand.
he was
think
definitely
would have been
racing
in
Fords.
NASCAR.
He was definitely racing Fords at the time. He was definitely racing Fords at the time, so it's gotta be. I envision it's some subsidiary of Ford.
Ooh,
Chrysler
Lincoln. Is
Corp.
it Lincoln?
I was
Yeah,
gonna say
it
it
was
was
Lincoln.
Lincoln, or I was gonna say it was either Lincoln or Mercury. That was
There
gonna
we
be
go.
the
So-
list.
I don't know how
I
we're
was gonna
doing
say-
on time. Did we pass it?
No, I set the 2-minute timer. We had 30 seconds left, so Wiley got that.
Okay,
Sorry.
yeah. So,
There you go.
yeah, they ran a few test sessions at Charlotte by John Andretti with a Continental Mark 8 Generation 4 NASCAR body, which it was a Continental because it had the grill. It even had the famous trunk hump because the Continentals, they had a little trunk hump on it where the spare tire would go. And they actually had like a sort of aero hump there that was very obviously reminiscent of the trunk hump, which they somehow incorporated into the aerodynamics of the car. Yeah, and Ford pulled the plug to focus on perfecting the Thunderbird body and developing what would become the Taurus. So I always thought that was really cool because I remember looking that up years ago and then seeing a picture, and it's this 37 John Andretti Little Caesars race car, and it's a freaking Lincoln. It's like a cursed image.
This is so trippy, dude. I've never heard of this. Dang.
Yeah.
This is what I love. This is what I keep on telling my friends. My friends think I know everything about racing, and then I tell them you're always learning something new. And this is one of those times, bro. That's what I love about the sport. Nothing else like it, dude. Oh, it's so cool. That's actually insane. My mind's blown. Sorry.
It's wild. Incredible. Imagine if we saw that on a Gen 4 car. It'd just be
so weird.
All right. Well, anybody else got some trivia questions?
I'm working on one. Yeah, I'll go in. Yeah, I'll ask this one. All right. So obviously, Chevy runs the Camaro riding in NASCAR, in the top Cup Series. When, what years did Chevy run the Camaro in the top series in NASCAR? There's more than just now.
Okay. I mean, are you asking all the years?
I know the answer.
Well,
I know the answer as well. I'm fairly certain I know the answer.
If y'all know the answer, go ahead.
1969, the inaugural Talladega race.
Oh, come on.
Yep.
That was when we had the driver protest. Is it earlier or is it later?
No, it's later.
Okay, because I know the Z01 debuted in 2018, and it's been running ever since, including now. Even though it's the Chevrolet, as I like to call it.
Yeah, the Dega race was really the only new variable I was looking for there. But yeah.
Oh, okay.
Elite ball knowledge.
Elite ball knowledge, bro. Elite wheel knowledge, guys. Oh man, I'm trying to think. Mine's just not that obscure. I just feel like I can think of things. I just feel like y'all would know them though. I feel like I would be, and I feel like because I don't even. I would ask a question, but I don't even know the answer to it myself, so I don't want to answer it. I don't want to ask it.
Just do it.
All right then. If you really want this, who were the top 5 finishers? Or no, wait, what happened to the top 5 finishers of the last Augusta? I think we talked about this in the last podcast actually. Yeah, we did. We did. Never mind. Don't worry about that. Forget the names, but it was like Joe Weatherly. Anyways, we're getting off topic. Question.
I wouldn't be able to tell you who the top 5 finishers were, though.
I know like 3. I think I know like 2 or 3. Joe Weatherly was one of them, and I think the other one was Mark McDonald. He passed away in the 500 later that year with Eddie Sachs.
Is Tiny Lund in there or no?
I don't remember. I don't recall. I'll look into it later. We'll find it after the episode. I'm trying to think of a question that would work though.
You got a lot of NASCAR knowledge, man. You got some memory.
Let me think. I think this might be a bit too easy, but I'll throw it out there. Apart from Jimmy Johnson, who has won 3 or more consecutive championships in NASCAR history? I feel like this might be a bit easy, but let's see.
Richard Petty.
No, that's wrong. Hold on. Let me
consecutive.
Hold on. Let me set the timer. No. I'll set the timer for 2.5 minutes. Is that fine or no? Since for my segment or okay. All right, starting now.
Jeff Gordon didn't, right? He didn't win.
No, he did not.
He didn't win
consecutively.
Dale Earnhardt.
He didn't do a 3-peat. Neither did Earnhardt. Earnhardt didn't do a 3-peat.
Lee Petty. No, that wouldn't be great. He did not. He won like 2 back-to-back, and then there was a separate one.
A third one, yeah. He has 3. Gordon won back-to-back. I think Earnhardt won 3 times back-to-back, but he never got a 3-peat.
Was Darrell Waltrip one of them?
Darrell Waltrip, yeah, he already made that guess. Darrell Waltrip has 3 titles, but none of them were consecutive. Or I think 2 of them were
Hmm.
consecutive. He won 80, 182, but he won 85 afterwards.
So Richard Petty didn't win 3 consecutive, really?
He didn't. He never won a three-peat. No, there's only been one other driver apart from Jimmy Johnson who's done it, and he did it in the. He's done it in the modern era as well, which I guess narrows it down from 72 onwards for you guys.
In the modern era. Who the heck am I
So that means
forgetting here?
1972 to now.
This should be a really easy. This should be a really easy question. I feel like.
That's what I anticipated. I was like, maybe it's a bit too easy.
This is. Oh, we are so bad. We are bad. It's so bad. It's not even funny. And it wasn't the really modern era, like of when we were alive, because we would definitely remember that. Like it wasn't like Kelly Yarborough, was it? I mean, he was a little bit before.
Damn, that was on the spot. That was on the spot. He went
That's
76,
Kelly
77, and 78. Yeah, with Junior Johnson.
I mean, I was thinking. I thought he was really competitive before the modern era, but maybe I'm just remembering that wrong.
He was. I think he was part. He was as well. But like I think, yeah, he was mostly known for that time in the 70s.
Should we count that? Should we count that as a correct guess?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I need to be more prepared next time with a good question. So that's
that was my easier question. That was an easier question that I threw out. I was like, that's gonna be good enough.
Okay. Well, that was fun. That was we both got a point. So
yeah, we'll take it.
All right. So I guess up next we got the final section. It's picks. So
all right.
Make known your picks for Sonoma, Dover, and the Brickyard.
Sonoma, Dover, and the Brickyard. All right. So who's leading the points then?
Okay. So with the points, I think it's pretty obvious who's leading the points.
Wiley. I'm second.
So yeah, Pocono, Wiley. You went with Hamlin. You finished second, so you got 36 points on the day. And then Uriel, you had Larson, and he was like 5th or 7th or something like that. And so you got 30 points on the day. Byron fell back pretty hard. Like he was doing pretty good, but I think it was just strategy that screwed him over. So I lost out on that one. Atlanta, you got a win. So this is now your second, or
wait, who won it?
I think Elliot,
Wiley,
and and this is the second win because you went with I think Norris, and he won Monaco, so that counts. So maximum points. I got second because I went with Kyle Busch, and he was running really good in that race, but I guess he just fell back. I think he was involved in the wreck. And Suarez, obviously, with the 7 points there, that didn't end up too good. And really good weekend for both of you guys. Both of you picked SVG, 40 points, maximum points for both of y'all. So that's 3 wins for Wiley, 1 for Uriel, and then I got 38. So even when I have a good day, I still can't gain points because I got Reddick and he was 3rd. So Wiley, who was leading before with 63 points, goes to a massive 49-point lead. Now at 179. So that's a full race. You could root for the driver who finishes last, Wiley, and still be in the lead. So Uriel, you went from 53 points down to 130, not bad. And then I am sitting last at exactly 100 on the dot.
Oof. So then he picks first, right?
Last place picks first.
Oh, okay. So you go first then.
Also, I think Wiley, you're muted. I'm not sure if
He is
that's
muted, but it'll work out.
All right, so
weird.
Sonoma, I picked Christopher Buescher. And for Dover, I have Alex Bowman, and Indianapolis, I have Ryan Blaney.
Okay. I'll throw out. I'm gonna throw the reliable out here. I'm gonna pick a calm little SVG for Sonoma. I think he's just gonna continue on his road course reign of terror. Then for Dover, I think it's a little bit trickier than for that. Because I don't know the track record for most next gen winners in Dover. But honestly, I wouldn't. Let me think.
It might be Hamlin. I think Hamlin's won there twice, I want to say.
Recently, I think Hamlin is one as well. But hold on, let me look.
I was gonna pick Hamlin, but I felt like it was kind of a shoe-in, so I didn't go for it.
Honestly, I'm not taking Hamlin. I'm holding back my pick for for Uriel to pick, but I'm not planning on picking him for Dover.
I wasn't
I'm
planning on
going
picking Hamlin either. I don't want to pick Hamlin
going more
either.
flamboyantly.
I'm thinking. Let me think about this. I honestly I was thinking about this and I was like pondering a bit more, but I'm gonna go on a limb and say Kyle Larson.
Mm.
I think his reign of terror also extends to the concrete tracks, barring Nashville. But like the higher banked concrete tracks, I think he's run well at. Finished second to Hamlin last year, so I'm gonna pick Hamlin. I mean, not Hamlin, Larson there. And for the Brickyard, I think it's a bit more of a tricky situation since we've only had one race there recently. But I kind of want to send it. I'm gonna send it on This is gonna be I think hopefully it hits, but no, it's not gonna hit. Let me not say that. I was gonna say Brad, but I was like, no shot. I don't think it's gonna go well for him. I'm gonna throw a shot on the duck though. Reddick. I'll throw Reddick.
All right. So for Sonoma, I'm gonna go Chase Elliott for Sonoma. I think he gets a second. Dover, give me Alex Bowman. And Brickyard, give me Kyle Larson. I think Hendrick threw back to back. Sonoma, Chase Elliott, good road course racer. He finished fourth last year, and I think he was top 10 the year before that at Sonoma. Dover, Alex Bowman has won there before. And then Brickyard, I want to pick Bowman. I think he's due for one. And then Brickyard, who has more experience at Indy in the last couple years than Kyle Larson? That is my rationale there. Or wait, did somebody pick Larson for Brickyard, or did y'all pick Larson? You picked Larson for Dover, right?
I picked Bowman for Dover.
Oh, you did? Okay, never mind.
He did
You
pick
just
Bowman.
said. All right, give me Hamlin then. I thought you picked Blaney for. Okay, never mind. I was just not listening. My bad. All right, give me Elliott, Hamlin, and Larson.
Okay, respectable.
Larson was a really good pick for the Brickyard, but I was like, I don't know, something's gonna be different this year, and something just telling me otherwise. And I feel like Reddick's a mistake, but I mean, I don't know. I didn't think Hamlin was gonna be fast, so I just threw a shot out there. I think it's gonna cost me points, but hopefully I get proven wrong. We'll see.
We'll see. You never know. Never know. I picked Blaney to win the Coke Century, and he finished last, so you never know. So I guess that's basically it, y'all. It was
Under 2
really
hours.
good. Good.
Yeah.
What are we at now?
It's 10:28. We started at like 8:30ish.
On the dot. Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, this
I think
will
we need
be
to work on Translit.
All right. Well, I've got to jump off. Gracie is on her way back from work, so yeah, it's been fun, and I will see y'all whenever we decide to do the next one. Taylor, good luck as you head out to OCS. Wish you luck there. But
Thank you,
anyway,
man.
see y'all. Good night.
Take it
Good
easy.
night.